In this lesson, we're going to look at what you say to other people without even speaking. Body language. Body language is simply how we communicate to others with our body. Have a look at Matt here. How do you think he's feeling? He's obviously tired, and he didn't have to say a word. You only needed to look at him. On the other hand, look at Matt now. He's upbeat and keen to help. From this example, it's easy to believe the research. 55% of what we communicate to others is through body language. Not our words, but rather through posture, gestures, and movements. Only 7% is made up of the words you use, what you say. The other 38% is your tone of voice, or how you say something. We'll be focusing on the following areas and the different ways in which we communicate. Your posture, eye contact, your expression, your hands, and movement. Let's take a look at these in some more detail by starting with your posture. Your posture refers to the way you carry yourself, the position of your body when you're standing or sitting. Good posture is to stand up straight, shoulders back, and chin up. It shows that you are confident and proud to be representing your establishment. When interacting with guests, particularly if they are seated, lean in slightly to show that you are listening carefully. Bad posture is when you slouch. Your shoulders are drooping, your back is curved, and your head is down. This shows that you are not interested in the guest and you don't care about them. Be aware of where your arms are. Stand up tall with your arms in front of you or at your sides. This shows that you are alert and ready to help the guest. But when you have your arms crossed in front of you, which is closed body language, or behind you like a soldier, it makes you look unfriendly and unapproachable. On the other hand, open body language shows a readiness to face the world. When serving a meal or presenting the guest with the menu, always do so with open body language. Love the guest. This means if you are serving the guest from the right side, you should serve them with your right hand. In the same way, if you are serving from the left, you should use your left hand. Look what happens when you serve the guest with closed body language. Your back is turned to them, and they have to look at your back instead of your face. Now let's talk about eye contact. You should always look guests in the eye when you speak to them. This shows the guest that they have your full attention and that you are confident. If you look down or start looking everywhere except at the guest, they will think that you have somewhere more important to be, or that you're thinking about other things. When you're with the guest, look at them to show that they are the only person on your mind. Eye contact is incredibly valuable during service. Guests will often communicate through eye contact, so be on the lookout for guests trying to catch your eye, and respond immediately to show that you saw them. You'll also use eye contact to communicate with your colleagues. By using your eyes, you can quickly and silently communicate that you need help or signal towards a table. Next is your expression. A smile is possibly the simplest way to make your guest feel welcome, comfortable, and at ease immediately. So the moment you spot a guest, show them your warmest, brightest smile. Sure, there are days when you're tired or stressed, but it's your responsibility to make the guest feel welcome and relaxed. After all, the guest is paying to be there. Frowning, looking annoyed, or bored tells the guest that you don't want to be there, and may make them unwilling to ask you for assistance. Now let's look at hands. How you use your hands can signal many different messages to the guest. Have a look at the following sequence. In the first example, the waiter greeted and seated the guest with good body language and gestured towards the chair using an open palm. In the second example, the waiter used his finger to point to the chair. Pointing is considered very rude and aggressive, and it makes it look as though you are accusing the chair of doing something wrong. You'll also use your hands when communicating with the guest about menu items to help describe the dishes and show the guest that you are excited about the food. This will help get the guest excited about the food too. Let's move on to movement. The way you move through the dining area also communicates to the guest. There are two extremes we want to avoid here. Firstly, don't run. This is obviously dangerous, but it also creates a sense of panic and chaos. Secondly, you don't want to walk too slowly. This can create the impression that you're lazy, or you're not treating the guest's requests as serious. To get your movement just right, don't run, but walk with purpose. Also move lightly. Stomping around the dining area looks inelegant and is noisy. When it comes to foot traffic, an accepted rule in service is to pass moving members of staff by keeping to the right. This keeps collisions to a minimum and avoids this type of situation. Always stand back for guests and acknowledge them. The guest will feel very uncared for if you push in front of them or ignore them. It will be useful for you as a team to make rules about who has right of way. One example would be, guests always have right of way. Then waiters accompanying guests. Next, waiters with hot plates. After that, waiters with cold food. Followed by waiters with empty plates. And finally, empty-handed waiters. So, to recap, there are 5 main areas when thinking about your body language. Your posture, eye contact, your expression, your hands, and your movement. Good luck perfecting your body language. By now you have a basic idea of what good and bad body language involves. In the following scenes, we'll look at some common mistakes and bad habits which are definite no-nos in front of guests. Have a look at the following clip and write down the mistakes you spot. You should get 8. Now let's rewind and see if you spotted all of them. Firstly, the waiter was texting front of house, and while the guests were seeking his attention. Unacceptable. It's best to keep your cell phone back of house, in your locker, and out of the guest's view. The next mistake was that the waiter was biting his nails. This is a bad habit and looks unprofessional and is also unhygienic. There is a lot of dirt under fingernails. Remember, you will be touching the guests' plates, cutlery, and glasses with those hands that have been in your mouth. Here, you would have also noticed that the waiter was constantly touching his face and hair. This type of fidgeting makes you look uncomfortable and unconfident. Rather, keep your arms in front of you or to your sides. In this instance, the waiter also chewed on his pen while taking the order, which is highly unappetizing for the guest. He was also looking at his watch, making the guest feel like he had somewhere better to be. The next mistake was obvious. The waiter loudly blew his nose in front of the guest. The sights and sounds of a sneeze are definitely not something you want the guest to experience. Except for the nose blowing, the waiter also coughed towards the guest, which is rude and unhealthy. If you absolutely must sneeze or cough, step away from the guest and cover your mouth with your upper arm. Over here, the waiter was also picking at his underwear. This might be something you do without realizing it, but make a huge effort to stop. It will also help if you make sure that your underwear fits well and is comfortable. Lastly, you surely must have noticed the waiter picking his nose. This is obviously considered bad manners and highly unappetizing for the guest. You now have a great understanding of body language and the bad habits to avoid in front of guests. In the next 3 lessons, we'll take a look at communicating with colleagues by looking at the following key points. Communication before service, communication with colleagues during service, and communication with colleagues after service. So, in this lesson, we'll be looking at the first type of communication, communication before service. Do you still remember the 5 P's? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. This not only includes having all the equipment ready, but also all the information that you will need in order to provide the guest with exceptional service. Good communication at this stage sets the tone and lays the foundation for success. This is where pre-service meetings come in. At pre-service meetings, the team comes together to exchange information and get into the right mindset for service. These meetings are crucial for our preparation before service. Key areas of focus here are guest information, communication with the bar and kitchen, and areas of improvement. Let's take a closer look at these by starting with guest information. The maitre d' will have the important information of the guests who have booked for service. This will include information such as guest names, dietary requirements, or special occasions. This provides you with the valuable information you need to make your guest's experience superb. You can call them by name, congratulate them on a special occasion, and ensure that if they have allergies, the kitchen is informed. If guests have made special requests, this is also pointed out at pre-service meetings to ensure that the proper preparation has been done and that the responsible person ensures that it happens, such as champagne on arrival or a special table arranged. There may also be returning guests who you've served before. If so, you can share any information you remember, such as whether they drink still or sparkling water, or which type of coffee they prefer. This way, even if you're not the one serving them, they will still receive personalized service. This is the level of detail that elevates service to a 5-star level. The second area of information is from the kitchen and bar. The pre-service meeting is an opportunity for the kitchen to give you menu information such as specials or which dishes are unavailable. It's very important that you take careful note of this information. Imagine during service the guest finally decides on one of the delicious menu items, only to find out when they order that it's unavailable. They will be terribly disappointed. The kitchen may also have specific dishes which they would like you to promote for that service, and they will tell you which dishes these are during the meeting. During the meeting, the bar can also let you know about wines that pair well with the specials and if there are any beverages unavailable. Lastly, ideas and areas for improvement. Everyone involved in the dining experience, from the chef to the runners to the waiters, form a team. And as a team, you need to constantly improve service at every level. The only way to do this is through effective communication. That's why meetings are a great opportunity for the team to discuss areas for improvement for service. For example, if the kitchen is having trouble reading the dockets, they can make the waiters aware of the problem and ask them to write more clearly. Or, if the waiters find that the noise in the kitchen gets out of hand, the maitre d' can ask that they try to keep the noise levels down. Because meetings are held regularly, the team can also talk about previous areas of improvement and can see whether these problems are in fact improving and remind everyone to keep it up. Meetings are also a chance for you to share your ideas on how to improve service For example, if you notice that ladies in high-heel shoes often struggle climbing the stairs at your establishment, you can suggest that it becomes standard for a waiter to offer their arm to ladies in high-heel shoes. Another tip for effective communication is that only one person speaks at a time. Imagine if everyone talked at the same time. No one would hear anything, and no one would be heard. So, if someone else is speaking, listen and keep quiet. This shows that you respect your colleagues and goes a long way towards building a strong team. So to recap, at the meeting before service, the important areas of communication include guest information, communication with the bar and kitchen, and ideas and areas for improvement. After the pre-service meeting, you are armed with all the information you need for service. Now we're going to look at communicating with your colleagues during service. The main points we'll look at are verbal communication with colleagues, non-verbal communication with colleagues, and communicating with the kitchen. Let's start with verbal communication with colleagues. Verbal communication simply refers to communicating using words, the things you say to others. There is an important difference here between guest communication and communication with colleagues. When we communicate with guests, we use more descriptive language. For example, describing the dishes we'll be serving them. On the other hand, when we communicate with colleagues during service, we want to keep words to a minimum. Messages should be short, quiet, and to the point. To help do this, start your sentence with a verb. That is an action word such as refill, check, clear, replace, and so on. It also helps to think about what you want to say before you start speaking. As always, be aware of the volume of your voice. Speak only loud enough for your colleague to hear you. Let's talk about non-verbal communication. One of your greatest tools in providing efficient, yet silent service is non-verbal communication. That is, speaking without words. As you'll remember from previous lessons, this is done through body language. You can communicate a message in seconds through the tiniest movement of your eyes, head, or hands. There are two important devices here. A. Eye contact, and B. Hand signals. Through making eye contact with your colleagues, you can focus their attention on a particular table or guest, or ask them for help from across the room in a subtle way, without making a sound. Secondly, hand signals are an incredibly useful tool. Let's take a look at some examples. In these ways, you can quickly communicate without saying a word. The hand signals at your establishment could be different, and at some establishments may be quite advanced. For example, different signals to show which type of water the guest prefers. You can decide as a team which hand signals will be used and what they mean. The important thing is that everyone knows them and that they are subtle. No waving about of your arms. They should also never be done while a guest can see you. They might think you're talking about them. With both eye contact and hand signals, there is one key point which determines whether they are effective. What do you think that is? Everyone on the team needs to be on the lookout for them. You can make eye contact and hand signals until you're blue in the face, but if your colleagues aren't alert, they will have no effect. So this is another situation where teamwork can make or break successful service. Lastly, let's go through communicating with the kitchen. The pass is another pressure point where communication is vital. It doesn't help for the guest to make a request to a waiter, only for the kitchen to never hear about it. As you know, a kitchen is a high-stress environment, and the chef has a lot to focus on. So if you need to talk to them, keep it short, sharp, and concise, and do it through the pass manager, where possible. You don't want to come into the kitchen making a noise and distracting everybody who is hard at work and concentrating. So only talk in the kitchen if it is absolutely necessary. It is also crucial in a kitchen to address the person you are talking to, so that they know you are talking to them. For example, "Chef, table 3 sends its compliments for the delicious meal." So, the main points to remember when communicating with colleagues during service are: verbal communication should be short and to the point. Non-verbal communication is your best friend when it comes to efficient service. And communication with the kitchen is vital, but should be short and only done when necessary. If you understand how to communicate with your colleagues during service, you're well on your way to providing guests with seamless service. We've now looked at the important aspects of communication with colleagues before and during service. Now let's have a look at the final point: communication with colleagues after service. Some aspects of communication are best saved for after service. After service, everyone is tired and eager to finish their duties and leave. But as you know by now, communication is key to improving service. After service, events are fresh in your mind, and so some topics are best discussed immediately. Let's take a look at these. They are praise and grievances, and highs and lows of service. Let's start with praise and grievances. Throughout service, you might see one of your colleagues doing something brilliantly or handling a difficult situation well. If so, you should tell them after service. This is great for team building and also creates an opportunity where the rest of your colleagues can learn from what that person did well. Similarly, if you have a grievance or problem with something one of your colleagues did, during service is not the time to discuss it. This is unprofessional, and guests can easily pick up on tension between colleagues. Imagine if it turns into a shouting match in front of guests. Rather, wait until after service and calmly approach the person. Explain what you feel the problem is and discuss ways in which it can be avoided in the future. The second topic to discuss after service is the highs and lows of service. Together, you can look at what the team did well and the positive effects it had on service, as well as the things that didn't work well, such as miscommunication or messy dockets. You might also have received some feedback from your guests on a particular thing they enjoyed, or an aspect of service that bothered them. If so, share this with the team after service too. From this discussion, you can compile a to improve list, areas of service that need extra attention. For example, if the team is writing untidily on the dockets, it makes it difficult for the kitchen to read, wasting time. This can be mentioned after service and repeated during the pre-service meeting. The list can then be reviewed in the pre-service meeting the next day to remind the team to write neatly. The same can be done with things that worked well. The team can be reminded to repeat these the next day. So to recap, the main points to be discussed after service are praise and grievances and the highs and lows of service. Well done on learning the basics of communicating with your colleagues.